Welcome everybody. Cathy Smith here from CATCO Enterprises, and today we're going to be talking about Instagram tips for 2020. Now, Instagram is moving very quickly, and a lot of the information that has been out 6 months ago, 12 months ago, and even longer is definitely not relevant anymore. So we're going to go through a few things to have a look at today. So welcome everybody. And we've still got people jumping on, so looking forward to admitting them. And we will just start on time. And the people that join up, if they're a little bit late, they might want to catch the recording. So like I said, I'm Cathy Smith from CATCO Enterprises, and today we're talking about Instagram tips. So the biggest thing is that your marketing should make you money, and especially when you're looking at Instagram. So even if you're not paying to do Instagram, you need to think about the time that you're putting in. So making sure that you are doing it correctly so that you can get a positive ROI on the time and the money that you're putting in. Whoops. Okay, technology is not my friend today, so let's just go back. See if we can get it back to there. There we go. Okay, so we have a few stats here just to show you the power of Instagram. So there is over 1 billion people that use Instagram every month, and 88% of those people are out of the US. So if you're thinking that Instagram's only for America, well, it's definitely not. And a few more girls than there are guys. So 51% females to 49% males. As we go along, if you've got any questions, pop them in the chat, and we'll get to them at the end as well. And most people on average spend 30 minutes a day on their Instagram. So that's a fair chunk of time when you think that some people are very quick and other people spend quite a lot. And 81% of those people are using Instagram for research. There's 130 million users that tap and then go through onto shopping, and so they're buying products straight from Instagram. And there's 500 million people on stories. Now, we'll talk a fair bit about stories as we go on and what the difference between stories and reels are as well. And 50% of those people go back to your website and they'll make a purchase from there. And that's the best way to get them to go, because then that gives you the traffic as well for your website, and it's also giving you more brand exposure. Most people have an average of one business account post per day, and just under 1% engagement on most business accounts. Okay, so 90% of Instagram accounts follow businesses. So that is an awful lot of people. And as you can imagine, you've got to be a little bit different so that you can stand out. Okay, like I said at the beginning, there's lots of things that have changed, particularly in the last 6 months. So the biggest thing is don't buy followers, shout out, or engagement, because generally they're bots and they're not real people. And Instagram can see that. One of the big metrics is how many followers you've got and how much engagement you've got. So if you bought followers, shout outs, or engagement, then they're not going to come back and engage with your page. So obviously it's not real, and Instagram obviously wants you to be social, so they want you to be real. Now, Telegraph groups is very similar to pods. So that's when you all get together, you get, say, a group of 10 of you, and you put out your messages, your posts all at the same time. And then you get everybody else in that group to post and like on the same. Now, what happens there is that everything's happening the same time all the time, and you have the same people liking and commenting. So pods was a huge thing to start with to get engagement, but unfortunately Instagram, or fortunately, depending on which way you look at it, has worked out what's going on there. and they're saying that's not real engagement. And the same with engagement groups. To do it and to be able to make it work, it has to be a huge amount of people. It's got to be really well coordinated, and generally most people don't do that. So just be careful if you're getting all your friends to like stuff at the same time. Now, there's nothing wrong with getting your friends to like it, and family, and any other way you can get engagement, as long as they're doing it organically. So they're doing it when they're seeing it, when they're on, not saying, okay, we're going to do it at 8 a.m. every Monday morning, which is what a lot of these groups do. And they might do it 3 times a week. So just be careful of Telegraph groups and pods and engagement groups. Now, the other one that's really that doesn't sit well with my creative ambitions is grids. It used to be that you had to have beautiful images with patterns and grids. Now, I'm a bit of a creative, so I still like to do grids, but certainly not the way that they used to be done with the 9 squares, because basically it's boring. And when it comes through on your feed, people don't realize that it's different. Now, it looks lovely on the wall when you go back to see it, but if you're seeing those same images over and over, people don't realize that they're different and the engagement is dropping down. So, like I say, it looks lovely on the wall, but if you're in it for your business and you're trying to get engagement, then unfortunately, grids has got to go. Okay, so we're talking about social media. So people want to be social and they want to know about you. Unless you're a really huge, big brand, most people want to know about the people behind the brand. And even the big brands, if you think about Apple compared to IBM, we all know lots about Apple. It has a cult following. If they bring out a new iPhone, people are queuing for it. Whereas IBM doesn't have that same pull. And do you know who the actual founder of IBM is? Do you know who the current CEO of IBM is? I bet you don't. I don't either. And that's the difference, is we don't know the people behind that brand. So therefore, it doesn't get that kind of cult following. Now, I'm not saying that your brand's going to get a cult following, but people, especially your customers, like to know about you. Okay, and because it's social, you really do need to be posting often, at least once a day. And that's on your feed. So that's where you're putting out your posts. That doesn't include stories and reels that we'll get to in a minute. But you need to have regular content going out. Now, people always say, what about scheduling it? Can I schedule it? Yes, you can. Particularly if you're scheduling it through the Facebook native scheduling app. You can schedule Instagram through Facebook native scheduling app, because both Instagram and Facebook, they like their own products. And yes, you can schedule through third-party apps, but the preference is definitely the Facebook native app first. One, because it's free, so it doesn't actually cost you anything. The third-party ones, most of them will have some sort of free account, but generally, if you're doing it regularly, you'll need to pay. And also, Instagram and Facebook like their own products. So definitely a good idea, if you can't keep that consistency up, to make sure you at least have some scheduled posts. And then that way it also gives you the opportunity to put in some extra posts. So you can have your once a day ones being scheduled. You can vary the times a little bit as well. And then when things are happening in your business, I know we've got Pippa from Vineyard 28 on the line, and she might be showing us about the vintage, the things that are happening regularly in her vineyard, the wines that are coming up, that sort of thing. And that gives you the opportunity to bring in that know, like, and trust, letting you have people see what's going on in your business day to day and the things behind your business, because that's the difference and that's how you'll make the connection. Okay, so like I said, I'm a bit of a stickler for the creatives and trying hard not to do grids, but you'll definitely notice a bit of a pattern showing there. So I'd love you to jump on and follow my Instagram so that you can see what I'm up to. But you can see with my grid, it's no longer that 9 square. So there's enough variation and variety that people can see that there's different things happening. So when it comes through their feed, they're going to see that there are different quotes, different posts, different information. And you can see here we've got these little video icons, and they're reels or stories. So both of these two are reels. Um, so what I've done there is I've actually made them as a story and then saved them and then loaded them up to be a reel. So what happens there is that you get the option to put music and you can use a video or a photo. So this black one here is actually a real video, so it's real video footage, whereas this one here with the cockatoo, that's actually a photo with text put over the top of it and then added in the music later on. And I'll tell you a bit more about that as we go through. All right, so how can you improve your engagement? Well, first of all, is consistency. Make sure that you are posting regularly so that there's a lot of information there that people can see. So post onto your feed is absolutely essential. And then you need to be doing stories. So your stories, like I say, they don't have to be video, they can be photos, or they can be photos that have got um, automated text coming over the top. So that then becomes a video as well. And what stories do is they help engage your current audience. They don't generally bring in other people, but they help keep your current audience engaged. Because what you'll find is when you start looking at your analytics, and you only get analytics if you've set it up as a business page. So if you've currently got it as a personal profile, go into your settings and change it to be a business page. And when you see your analytics, you'll see that you've got people following and then you've got unfollowing. Now, don't be daunted by that. You're going to find that people will unfollow you. And as long as you're getting more follows than unfollows, then your account will grow. So make sure that you are setting out stories so that people can start engaging with you. So I know also we've got Jeannie's going to be watching the replay. So she could be putting out information about her VA services, giving them little tips. Here in Australia, we're heading up to the end of the financial year, giving little tips about what they need to be doing to get their paperwork set up. Things about finalising it with their bookkeeper, stuff like that. Just making sure that they've got all their ducks in a row for the end of the financial year. Now, she's not a tax accountant and she's not a bookkeeper, but being a VA, she's still involved in the admin side of it. And then you need to be interacting with other people's posts and commenting on other people's posts, because it is social. So Instagram wants you to be social. So they want you not only to be putting your stuff out there, but talking to other people. So the way to do that is liking and commenting. And you do need to be commenting as well as just the likes, because of course likes is one point of engagement, but comments just makes it to that whole new level. All right. So, what matters to your business? So, that's what you've got to think about, is what is the problems that you are solving in your business, and make sure that your customers or potential customers know that. And a lot of things, especially when I'm talking to clients, they'll go, "Oh, but it's an industry standard. Everybody knows it." Well, no, they don't. And even if it is an industry standard, it's a good thing to remind people of that. You've got to remember that when people are not inside of your industry, so your customers, your potential customers, They may not know it's an industry standard. And even if they do, it doesn't hurt to remind them. And who is your target audience? So remember, speaking to everybody is speaking to nobody. So you need to be really clear about the one person you're talking to. So think about the very best client that you have, the one that pays on time, they buy your high ticket products, that person that is just the bee's knees, your A-class client, and that you'd really like to have more of. And speak to that client. And yes, you might be saying that you have 3 or 4 or 5 of those. True, you may, but start with one. Get that absolute one dialed in and then start working on the others. So that goes into picking a niche. So even when you're thinking about Facebook, Facebook didn't start with world domination. It started with just one university in one city in America. So you need to be thinking the same. Think of that one ideal client in one location, and then you can spread out, just as Facebook has done. And stop selling. We all get turned off by ads. Think about the way that we watch TV now, if we do watch TV. It's the paid versions of it. It's things like Netflix and Stan and Foxtel. And we skip over the ads or we pay so that we don't have ads. And social media is just the same. If you're continually trying to sell, people will unfollow. So make sure that you are adding value. Now, you can add the occasional special and things that are coming up, things that you are selling, but it needs to be probably 3 or 4 add value to 1 sell. Definitely no fewer than that. So just make sure that you're adding value so that you're earning the right to be able to sell. And create shareable content. So the way that most things work, especially social media and Instagram, is the more that people interact with your stuff, the more it'll go viral, the bigger the reach you'll have. So if you've got something that is hugely branded, very specific to your business, well, that's great, but people aren't going to share it. So make sure you've got things that can be shared as well. Now, hashtags. Everybody loves to talk about hashtags. Just before I got on the call, I got a question about how many hashtags should I be putting on Facebook. But with Instagram, they love hashtags. So you can have up to 30, but I would suggest only 28. And the reason for that is it gives you a little bit of wiggle room, and it also is showing Instagram that you're not trying to manipulate the algorithms, and you still playing the game the way they want you to. So 28's an awful lot, you might think. Well, if you break it down a bit, it makes it easier. So think about 15 of them in your niche. So think about specifically the things that you would be looking for. So for me, I would be looking for things like marketing, website design, website development. And then I might look at the actual person that I'm looking at. So small business owner, women founders, that sort of thing. And then you need to be post specific. So you need to be thinking about that exact post you've put up. So recently I took a trip to Sydney. So on those posts, I can put more about Sydney because that's where I was. Obviously, if I put Sydney on a Perth post or one in Western Australia, that's a disconnect and that's not going to work. And then you could look at your industry. So then I could look at digital marketing or marketing as a whole. Okay, so here's a few that I've put up as some suggestions for you. Now, obviously, you wouldn't use all of those at once. And if it wasn't a local area that you were trying to get, you wouldn't be putting your local ones either. So depending on what your product is and where you're trying to put it will depend on what you're trying to do. So Tammy, who's also going to be watching the recording, she might be putting things about lipstick and fashion because that's her side gig. And then she could be putting things about might be women in business if they're the people that she's helping, or it might be small business owners, or it could be whatever the target area she's looking at there. And she's located in the southwest of Western Australia. So her local ones could be Love at Bustleton, love at Margaret River. So you just need to have a look and see what hashtags will work for you. Now, the easiest way to do it is save lists. So if you save a list of about 15 or so, because you're going to be putting your post-specific ones. And even with your posts, if you're doing similar posts, you might have 2 or 3 that you've got on your list and that you can change in and out, and then change them up as you go. But make sure you're not having lists of 28 that you're copying, because your reach won't work there either. Okay, so Instagram really favors video, and it absolutely loves Reels and IGTV. So IGTV are your longer videos over 15 seconds. Reels are your 15-second video. But just when you're doing your IGTV, you still need to make sure that first 15 seconds is really punchy. So think of it as a mini advert, so that people are only seeing that 15 seconds in their feed, and then they have to click to see the rest of it. So if that 15 seconds is, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do, I'm checking my microphone, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, you've already tuned out. So you need to make sure that that first 15 seconds is the advert, and it's going to attract those people in to watch more. So don't announce who you are and what you're doing and what you're going to say in that 15 seconds. Just get straight into what you're going to say, what's in it for them, what's the benefits. So if you think about it in sort of 2 ways, you've got your first 15 seconds and then you've got your longer one, so that people know exactly what they're going to get. So then you could also use that first 15 seconds as a reel too, and let them know that you have a longer IGTV post available too. Now, carousels, they're multiple photos. So obviously it's a carousel. Then you've got your lives. So obviously just doing your straight selfie or videoing something on the fly. You've got your straight video posts. So with Instagram, obviously they're stories, IGTV, or reels, and they all do so much better than static images. Now you can make static images into videos as well using your stories and your lives. Okay, so like I say, Instagram Reels are huge. And at the moment, we're not getting any analytics on it, so we can't see how huge they are. But Instagram is definitely pushing them out into the feed quicker. And if you look at any of the hashtags, you'll always see the Reel is the number one in the hashtag that you can see. All right, so like I said before, you could make this into a reel or a story. And so all I did there was I took a photo, and I was actually just out doing the washing, and this lovely little cockatoo came to drink at our bird bath. So I snapped it on my Android phone. So you don't have to have complicated equipment. All you need is a smartphone. So I just snapped it on my smartphone. And then what I did was I put it into, obviously it went into the gallery, and I put it into my story. So I opened up my Instagram app and I went to add it as a story. And then these text here, I could actually animate. So by animating it, it turned this static image into a video. Then what I did was I downloaded it back to my camera roll, and then I uploaded it again back into Instagram, but to do it as a reel. And then what I did was I searched for the most popular music at the time. And I think this was the second or third one. So then it put music behind it. So now I have an actual video with music. So I've got a static image that has animated text and music, and now it's become a video. So when you're doing these reels, just remember to download them back to your camera roll before you hit publish, because that way you've got them saved and you can use them there as a reel, but you can also upload them into your stories. So it gives you a few different options there. Now, this is why stories and reels are so important. So, like I said, stories are about engaging your audience, the people that are already following you, and reels are about getting in new audience. So, Brock Johnson, Shalene Johnson and Brock Johnson run a Instagram training, and this is some of the stuff that they've been talking about. So they've done a lot of research and they have multiple accounts. And what they're finding is their students are getting massive results. So this lady went from 206 followers to 2,610 followers in 2 months, and just making reels. Now, obviously, these ones are with her to camera, and yep, that's going to get your best engagement. But if you're not comfortable with that, there's certainly other ways to do it. And like I've shown you, that's one. And you could also do just straight video. If you were looking at your business, you might do a quick snapshot of what's happening. You could do an unpackaging of a product if you've got a new product coming out. Lots of different things you can do there. But what you can see definitely is that they are getting the engagement, even on the smaller accounts, to be able to grow to the bigger accounts. So why it worked was it was funny. People always like a little bit of entertainment. It was relatable, so could be me. Had the trending music. So like I say, look in the reels and it will give you what the trending music is. And people are actually searching for that music as well. And that's another way that your reel can be discovered. And it was relative to that lady's niche. So that is really important. Okay, here's another one. And this lady is English by Gabby. So what she's doing is she's just literally face to camera, and she picks a word and she's talking about what that word means and how to pronounce it. So it's educational. It's very quick. That I don't think these ones go for very long at all. So it's brief, it's clear, but she is showing her face. So that's making the connection. So hers is just absolutely blowing up. And it's all through reels and interaction. All right, so stories are huge as well. So that's keeping your followers engaged, because obviously you've got to stop that churn. You don't want people following you and unfollowing you, which is why follow for follow is not a good idea anymore. That was something that used to happen, was you would get on, particularly onto Facebook, and they would say, drop your Instagram link here, drop your Instagram handle, I'll follow you, you follow me. But what happens there is you get a whole stack of people that are not actually interested in your stuff. So they either won't engage or they'll just drop off. They'll follow you to get your follow, and then a couple of days later, you'll get a huge unfollow. So just be careful with follow for follows. All right, so you post your story, and then you post that same story. You've got the option to put it onto your feed. Now, you might be saying that that's a double up. Yes, it is, but sometimes people will like to look at the stories and other times they like to look at the feed. And the same with reels. Make sure that you are posting your reels back down to your feed. Okay. With stories, you don't need to worry too much about hashtags because they go so quickly, but definitely with reels. And if you're saving either your reels or your stories back to your feed, then you definitely need to put your hashtags. Now, with hashtags, the best place to put them is actually in the first comment because it just looks better. So the engagement is not different whether you put them at the bottom of your caption or whether you put them at the first comment. but it just looks nicer. Okay, so you might be thinking, well, does it really work? So when I was setting up this presentation, I made a really conservative effort to actually follow my own advice and do some reels and stories. And you can see the engagement I got. So I've got 618 in my audience, but I had enough engagement so that I had 2,623 accounts I was able to reach in that 30-day period. And I also had a lot of content interactions. Now, obviously, once your numbers go higher, then your percentages may stay the same, but you'll get a lot of views. And you may be asking, why don't I have thousands and thousands of followers? Basically, because I spend most of my time doing it for my clients rather than myself. So, like I say, for this presentation, I made a conservative effort to actually follow my own advice and do it. And yes, I could have a lot more, but in the end of the day, I'm there to help my clients. Okay, so we've had 18 posts in that time period. So probably should have been a bit more, but I did 25 stories. So that's why this engagement and the accounts reached is so high. And you can see on these stories, I've got a combination of things. So I've got the static photo with the automated text to make it a video. I've just got a shared one here, which was somebody else's. This was also a shared one that had done quite well on the wall. So I put that up as a story. Then the red one is a quote from my own. So that was quite good. And then the one at the end here was a face to video camera, a video, you know what I'm trying to say, a face to camera video. So that was just me having a chat to you guys, and that did quite well as well. So I did make that one into a story, and I also then made it into a reel. So it just gives you an idea of when you concentrate on these things, what kind of effect you can actually have. All right. So when you've got your business page, you've got the options to go into your insights and see what is working so that you can then add more things that are working and maybe vary them a little bit. So you can see that this white post did exceptionally well. So what I've done there is I've actually shared somebody else's content. So on Instagram, to share somebody else's content, you need a repurposing app. So there is lots of different ones. There's lots of free ones. And what the repurposing apps do is they put the little bit down the bottom here, which is let's go back one, which is the credit to the author. Now, if you're sharing other people's stuff, you must always credit the author so that you can give credit where credit's due. Okay, so you can see in that top section, most of those are other people's content. So that's done really well. And the reason that's done well is I went through and I found content that was working already. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So obviously you want your own flavor, and that's why talking to the niche is very important, because you need to have stuff that is talking to your niche and making sure that the things that you're putting on is relevant and things that your customers and potential customers would want to look at. And then as you can see there's told you technology is not with me today. You can see that there's quite a bit of my own things. So I do quite a lot of these types of photos, but then I bring it back to things that I'm talking about for my customers. And you can see that particular one did quite well. Not quite as good as the 800 on the shareable one, because that was already doing really well. But you can see there's quite a variety there of different things. Okay, so like I say, when you're doing the repurposing, you need to make sure that you are crediting where credit's due. So this is the little logo from the repurposing app, and the one I use is just called repurposing. There is lots of different ones. So this is the view of your insights. So you can see what has happened there. You've got 17 people have liked it. You've got a few people have made comments, and you've also got one person that has saved the post. So that's this bit here. So they've saved it down to their camera roll. So they might be going to use it as well. So the other thing they might have done is saved it into a repurposing app as well, like I did originally. So that's how you start to get that extra interaction and how you start to get other people that are following you. And out of this 273, you can see that 83% of those people weren't actually following me. So they found me through hashtags or somebody else's comment or liking it. So that's why it's so important that you are using those hashtags. Okay, so we had a reach of 273, but we had impressions of 296. So that means that some people have actually come and looked at it more than once. So that's really good. You can see that people are interested in there. And like I say, once your follower numbers go up, you'll find that your account numbers will go up as well. Okay, so that's that same post, and you can see from that breakdown that only 9 of them came from the location, so that was a hashtag location. You can see that 61 people there, they came from looking at it on my feed or going to what they call the homepage, so the feed page. And then you can see that 223 of those people actually found it through hashtags. So that's why 28 hashtags is so important. Okay, so what can you do to grow your account and make sure that your time is well spent? Well, all the things we've just been talking about. Be consistent. Make sure that you are engaging. So you are commenting, you are liking, you are looking at other people's things, not just getting on and putting your stuff out there and never coming back, or putting it all through the scheduling app and never actually getting on there at all, never actually opening your Instagram. And sometimes being controversial, that can really make a difference. Obviously, it depends on your personality and your business. But if you've got a strong opinion on something, you'll get people that won't like it, of course, but then they're possibly not your type of people anyway, your customers, your potentials. But the people that do think about the same as you, they will gravitate to you. So it just depends on your personality whether you're happy to be controversial or not. But sitting on the fence all the time is vanilla, and people don't like vanilla. So it's up to you, but controversial certainly does work. Making sure that you are using your hashtags and making sure that those hashtags are different. So don't use the same 28. And even if you're only using 5 or 6, make sure that you do vary them. But as you could see on those posts, they're coming in through hashtags. So the more hashtags you can use, the better. Now, another thing that's changed quite recently is people were saying smaller accounts shouldn't use big hashtags. Well, Instagram's changed the rules on that as well. And what it's saying is it's to do with the engagement. So if you have a smaller account and you're using one of those really big hashtags, one that's got 1 million followers or more, but you're getting a lot of engagement on that, then Instagram says that's great. Because what was happening was the people that had gone into Instagram really early on had huge accounts and they were able to use these big hashtags all the time. And the smaller accounts weren't getting a say. And people were going, well, maybe Instagram's not for me, and I'll jump onto the next social media thing. So Instagram had to change the rules. So definitely do use those big hashtags if they're relevant to you, but you need to make sure that people are engaging with you. So your different hashtags, making sure that you're looking making sure that you're looking at your insights, making sure that you're seeing what's working and what's not, and definitely using video. And I've shown you a few different ways that you can do it if you don't want to do that face to camera. Face to camera obviously works the best, but if you're going to not use video at all, using some of those other tactics and other ways to do video will definitely help you. Okay, so like I said, some of this information has come through Brock and Charlene Johnson, and they're up to date with their stuff. They're talking about it all the time. So they have a thing called Instagram Club Hub. Now, the price has just gone up. So it's $27 US a month if you do it for a yearly subscription, or it's $47 a month if you do it just as a month to month. This is an affiliate link, so if you do go through there, I will get a commission. But what I would suggest you do is even just get in for a month, because they've got videos about what they're doing, how they're doing it. They've got all the latest techniques, and you would learn so much in a month. So it'd be about 75-ish Australian dollars. So it's really well worth the value. So if you are going to do that, obviously use my affiliate link if you feel that I have added value to you. But definitely check out what Instagram Club Hub are up to. And they do have a Instagram page, of course. So some of their information is free there as well. But they're definitely on the cutting edge, and they're making sure that all their stuff is relevant. All right, so if you like this kind of information, I talk about these things on my podcast all the time. So smallbusinesstalk.com.au. So every second week, I'm on there doing my thought leadership on subjects like this, letting you know what I'm thinking about, things that I've come across, different ways I've helped my clients. And the alternate week is a guest who I've brought on to add value to you guys. So if you haven't already subscribed, jump on there. You can get it through all your normal apps. So iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, anywhere that you listen to your podcasts. All right. So if you're wanting some more help on any of your marketing, reach out, look me up. And we do digital marketing, website design and development, SEO, making sure that your website's actually going to work for you, and social media management. And your marketing should make you money. So if it's not, you need to look at tweaking it. All right. And we're going to end it there. Now, I will stop the screen share and the recording. So those people that have come on and watched the recording, thank you very much. Appreciate that.